it may be true, but I want to test this against other information that I have, and things need to be consistent with each other. Otherwise, I will question this belief, and it will not become mine. So there is much less homogeneity. There is much less unison within Western society about many things. There is a lot of discussion between people because everybody forms his own beliefs, and there are not so many people who just follow whatever is written in the newspaper. Whereas in Japan, there is more inclination to respect people with experience, to respect parents, to respect people based on their authority, and there is much less inclination to actually skepticism. So that's why critical thinking is something that I believe differentiates Western people from Japanese people.
Okay.
Right? Okay, next slide, please.
Next slide?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Next slide.
So, deduction, induction, and abduction, because I knew you wanted to talk about that a little bit more. So, instead of making a very difficult explanation, I gave just 3 examples. Right? Okay, so deduction, that is the strongest relationship that you can have. So the strongest relation between the occurrence of a certain event or something, and then what that says about something else. So basically this is all talking about causality, about relationship. If A, then B. How strong is that relationship? So somebody can tell me, okay, actually this okay, so because this is frozen, the people could show a piece of ice, then we know that this has been in sub-zero temperatures, otherwise it could not be ice. There's a causal relationship between ice and temperature. Right? So in other words, another example, X is human, and all humans have a face, therefore X has a face, Mr. X, right? Right? So that is deduction. That we can tell this with 100% certainty. There's a clear relationship between having a face, between being human and having a face. Right? Then induction. Induction is weaker than deduction. Example: if A is true, then B, C, and D are true. Let's say that we know this as a fact. If A is true, then B, C, and D are true. So that is the premise. Then, if we find that B, C, and D are true, we may assume that A is probably true, but not per definition true. Right? So we can see that as a result of A, B, C, and D are true. Now, if we find B, C, and D are true, what does this say about A? Can we say 100% sure that A is then must be true? No.
What mean? I don't understand. If A is true,
Yeah.
then B, C, D true, right?
Yeah, that's the premise. Yeah.
If so, B, C, D true, why A is not true?
It could be.
Why?
Because no, it's not equation. It's because it could be a causal relationship, but it doesn't necessarily mean that okay, let's make this more concrete. Let's give an example for this. If A is true, then B, C, and D are true.
Induction 機能法だっけ。
インダクションは
Induction.
演疫上。演疫。ディダクションは機能法。
So basically, this is
インダクションは機能法。
インダクションは演疫法。あ、機能法。ディダクションが演疫法。
ディダクションの演疫法。
ディダクションは演疫法。だからディダクション is a very good methodology for the Westerners.
Induction は機能法。
induction. It's trying to find a relationship, but we cannot be 100% sure. It is like something that is very common in, for example, psychology, or in social sciences. So let's try to give an example for this. This is a bit tricky. If A is true, then B, C, and D are true. Give a good example. It's always true, right? It's a deduction. So let's say the same. Okay, let's say the same is true. So if A is human, then they have hands, they have ears, and they have eyes. Right? They have hands, they have ears, they have eyes. That's true. That is true. So if I find that something has hands, ears, and eyes, are they necessarily human? No. They could be monkeys. Right? So the relationship is it is quite likely, but it's not 100% sure. So the induction is okay. Well, we know that it has ears, eyes, and a face, so it's probably a person. However, we cannot be sure unless we can prove that it's not a monkey. So abductive reasoning is the best explanation. The best explanation that we can give under the circumstances. This is kind of trying to make sense, accepting the fact that we don't know so much, but we are kind of trying to make sense out of it all. So this is what happens, for example, when people read the newspapers, and they read what's currently very well, this is very contemporary. Let's say that in the United States, based on what they hear from their president and from the newspapers, they might actually believe that based on everything they read in the newspapers and what they hear from their president, they might believe that all Mexicans are criminals, rapists, and what have you. That is abductive reasoning. It is based on having some piecemeal information and trying to put that together without having any like solid statistical information or causal relationship between A and B.
Okay, I understand.
Right. So what does abduction, deduction, induction, and deduction means? That basically it determines the strength of a relationship between A and B.
Are you explaining abductive reasoning?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
But that's what I just did. Abductive reasoning is concluding based on what's in the news, what I hear from my president, that all Mexicans are criminals and rapists and what have you. Right.
Okay.
Right. And that every Mexican wants to come to the United States to be freeloading, not really serious about getting a job, but just engaging in criminal activities and being a burden to the society, not contributing anything at all. That is what we are led to believe.